Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Legal Wolf, a podcast discussing all things mental health, created by Stephen Lawler, mental health attorney and advocate from the UK. I'm Wendy Lynn Decker, mental health advocate and author of Sweet Tea, a novel inspired by growing up with a single parent with schizophrenia. Today, our guest is Michelle Hammer from New York City and creator of Schizophrenic.NYC. Welcome, Michelle. I am so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm just going to tell the listeners that it was kind of serendipity. I met Michelle on the street of New York City with her storefront and her Schizophrenic NYC banner, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I started talking to her, and I got her card. And then 5 years later, I was planning on doing a recording with some people in the mental health field and this podcast. And then I see you and I'm like, I'm going to reach out to you. So this is really great.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the whole point of the pop-up shop, make friends, make everybody connections, take a card. Everyone's like, if they just take a card, that means they don't want to buy anything. Like, no. They take a card, they can remember me.
And I remembered you. And I don't know if I bought anything, but I did this morning.
Oh, nice.
So I'm delayed.
That was that sale this morning on my phone. Oh, okay, I see. Okay.
So Michelle, give us your background. We're talking, but people don't know exactly, where you're from. We reach people all across the globe. So give us a background of yourself and what you do.
Okay, where do we want to start? I guess my full story starts, in high school, I was undiagnosed of anything, but I was extremely, extremely paranoid. And I think my mother noticed my erratic behavior, so she wanted to get me help. But being paranoid, I thought anyone trying to help me was really trying to hurt me. So I get into college and I'm thinking, I'm free of her. I'm totally good. Everything's gonna be fine now. A few weeks pass, and then I started thinking those same thoughts in my head about my mom, about my roommate. And then I'm thinking, why would my roommate be trying to sabotage my life? That doesn't make any sense. Like those same paranoid thoughts about my mom, I was having about her. And then that's when it just clicked in my head. Oh my goodness, it's been me the entire time. I was the one with the issue. It wasn't my mother, and it wasn't everyone that was trying to help me. It actually was me. So I went to the college health center. In about half an hour, they told me I was bipolar, handed me a pamphlet, say you need to go see the school psychiatrist, get on some meds. Things didn't go so well. So early in college, for freshman, sophomore year, I was sent to the psych ward by my college about 3 times, but I was still diagnosed as bipolar. And so after college, I don't have that doctor anymore. And I said, like, I need to go see a psychiatrist. Something's going on. And I was more open and honest with this guy. I liked him better. And basically he was like, yeah, you have schizophrenia. And at first I was like really bummed out that I had this schizophrenia diagnosis. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, oh my God, no one's going to love me. No one's going to want to be my friend. Oh no, oh no. But then so I meet up in Manhattan with like my 3 best friends from college. We're all sitting around this table having some food. And I'm thinking in my head, how am I going to tell them? How am I going to tell them? How am I going to tell them? So I just go, guys, I found out that I have schizophrenia. And seriously, the reactions were, isn't that what you had the whole time? That could have not been more obvious. And yeah, we told you that. So it was kind of like, if my best friends already knew and still loved me, why am I supposed to care about anyone else who finds out and doesn't like me? And that really helped me accept myself. And I also realized that, getting a schizophrenia diagnosis was the best thing that ever happened to me, because then I could be treated for the right illness. And that's what I try to tell people. It's not a bad diagnosis. You want to get the right diagnosis to be treated for the right illness. And it's not like schizophrenia is the worst diagnosis. It's really not. Everything's on a spectrum. I know people with no diagnosis that are way crazier than I am. Seriously. Yeah. So I started working in the corporate New York City graphic design, web design field. I worked there for 5 years. I had like 15 different jobs. I got fired from a lot of jobs, not because of my skill, but just because of, sitting behind the computer for 8 hours a day. You just go talking yourself delusional. They're like, are you on the phone? What's going on? What are you doing? And it was just like, it never worked out. And then I was like, what can I do? Well, kind of my epiphany was I would always like talk to myself in front of like a roommate that I had. And I always had these like hand gestures and talking or whatever. And he would like call me out on it. And then one day I was on the subway and I looked on the subway train and there's this homeless dude talking to himself in the exact same way that I talk to myself. So I was like, what's the difference between me and this guy? I have a support team, family, friends, and doctor. And if I didn't have that support, that would be me, the homeless person on the subway talking to themselves. So, what can I do to bring awareness to mental health, especially the mentally ill homeless in New York City? And that's when I came up with Schizophrenic.NYC, where I just create clothing that starts a discussion. Because the more discussions we have about mental health, the less stigma there will be. And like how I met you, I just pop up on the street and I just I sell the shirts. And then once I tell people, yeah, I have schizophrenia, that's why I'm doing this, they're either telling me, oh, they have a mental illness, a friend of theirs has a mental illness, or a family member of theirs has a mental illness, which only shows that if it's so common, what is with all the stigma? 1 in 5 New Yorkers has a mental health issue, but nobody talks about it because of all the stigma. And that's my whole mission. Let's start talking about mental health. If you just put it away and ignore it, it's not going to help anyone. It's just going to make people feel more closeted in their mental health. They don't want to like be associated with people that they see that are so visibly ill, but that's not what it's supposed to be. Let's like show people that you can live well with mental illness and not just, wellness in mental illness is private, but crisis in mental illness is public. You hear on the news, oh, this person with schizophrenia, attacked a group of people, but you'll never hear on the news, this person with schizophrenia woke up in the morning, went to work, after work, maybe saw some friends, go home for dinner, do anything like that. You're never going to hear that. And that's what, I'm trying to change the narrative really. And that's kind of what led me to be here.
You know what you're doing, it's so fantastic. It's because it's not like I am a mental health advocate. I grew up with a parent who had schizophrenia, but I don't have it. But I can't help wanting to share because what I went through growing up with someone who, back in the day that I was in, being a child of someone who had this, wasn't even diagnosed. She wasn't diagnosed till years later. But because of the way that you're out there speaking, they'll say, oh my gosh, maybe that's what my mother has, or maybe that's my father has, or maybe my brother. And then it can open up a conversation and then they can get help. And not everybody can get help. And that's the sad thing, because like with this homeless problem, and the more you bring this out, the more we need policymakers, people to make change, because by breaking the stigma and finding ways to get medication to people with this illness will stop the homeless. I mean, not everyone that's homeless has schizophrenia, but there's a really huge amount of people out there that are not there by choice. It's because they weren't diagnosed or because someone didn't understand that what's wrong with them. And
a lot of times like they'll sometimes like a homeless person that looks like they're having like an episode, maybe they'll be brought to the hospital, but they really get no help. And then when they get discharged, they don't have a home to go to. They just go back out on the street.
It's a big problem, but you're really being a great advocate for people on the street and for people who are just regular people at home. And here's a question I have for you. What about the person who does get diagnosed and then they get on their, cocktail of meds, and then they come home and they're feeling great, and then they say, I don't need this anymore. And then the cycle repeats. That's something that I faced for many years with my mom. She just kept stopping her medication. And I know that medication can cause side effects that aren't great. And how do you deal with that?
Well, I mean, medication can be really frustrating. I mean, when I was first diagnosed in college, like after a bunch of stuff happened, I like flushed all my medication down the toilet. I was like, I'm done with this. I don't want this medication. It's making me act weird. I don't like it, And for years I was really non-med compliant. But my senior year of college, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just be med compliant. I'm going to take it when I have to take it, and I'm just going to do it. And I was on the lacrosse team. And by second semester, my coach was like, I noticed a difference in you. You've been taking your medication. And I was like, yes. She goes, I can, because she would say, I can tell if you've taken your meds within about 1 minute of talking to you. So her saying this to me second semester, she goes, you've changed, you're taking your meds, you're doing well. And I would like to offer you a captain position on the team. And I was like, what? Because I thought that meeting, I thought I was getting in trouble. And all through my head, I was going, just apologize, just apologize, just apologize. Whatever I did, just apologize, just apologize. And she was like, so we want you to be captain. And I was like, what? What? Oh, okay. Right. So, it really was just like, it was like a pride thing. It was like, to me, it was just pride. Like, I need this to live, but I don't want to need it to live, but I'll take it to live and I'll just do it. And I saw my life getting better. And
Wow.
that's how it was. Like, because before I was like, I'll take it. I mean, I won't take it. I'll take it. Then I won't take it. So it was kind of like, I saw my quality of life getting better. And that's why I became med compliant.
Well, that's a good reason. I mean, you have people that are noticing it and they're telling you that they notice and you're getting new opportunities because of it. That's really a wonderful thing. And I think about, my mom, and that's probably something that I probably didn't say enough. That, wow, I'm so happy you're taking your medicine because we can have a great conversation, and now you can see your grandkids, and maybe I didn't say it enough. I don't know. Or maybe just the medication is not right.
Don't blame yourself. Don't blame yourself at all. I wouldn't say that. It's not you. Don't blame yourself.
Well, it's not about me anyway. It's about you. But I mean, I'm learning. I mean, every time I speak to someone, I'm learning as well as, the people who are listening to you, they're learning. And it's important. Anything like this is something that they take into consideration, that if they do, notice that the person is, changed for the better, to recognize that. So they realize, and I liken this, and as well as everyone who knows about mental illness, it's an illness. It's not, if you need to take medicine for your heart, you don't just stop taking it because you feel like taking it. It's going to keep your heart well.
Exactly.
The same thing. And if people look at it that way, they won't get so wrapped up around the fact that I need medicine. I'm still a good person. I just need to take medicine, whether it's for my mind, whether it's for my physical being. And this is really, we need to bring this to people again and again. And so, our country, as great as it is, it has more of a stigma than a lot of countries I've been paying attention to. And
really, yeah.
Really. And I know someone very well, and they have a child, an adult child, and they, their life was going really well. And when their son was afflicted, they were not comfortable letting people know about it. And they would say things like, they got in a car accident and they've never been the same since, instead of saying they have schizophrenia, because they were fearful of how they'd be treated, or they were from old school, where you kept it hush hush. And how do you tell someone from in that life, in that place in their life where they think they need to keep it a secret because their friends or family won't feel the same way about them anymore? What advice would you have for someone like that?
Well, I mean, their son was the same person before he was diagnosed. So what's really the difference? That they knew their son before. What's the difference after he gets a diagnosis? Is he a different person now? Did he change? It's the same person. You just get, like, for me, I was the same person and then I got a diagnosis. Did I turn into a different person? I'm the same exact person. You know me before, you know me after the diagnosis.
Well, medications helped you though. But see,
but meds help me, but I'm still the same person.
Yeah.
You treat me differently. I know something that I didn't like that my mom did after I was diagnosed, but she'd be like, oh, I told Miss Friend about you. Oh, I told them about your situation. Oh, I told them about your situation. But one that really got me was like, oh, I told Margot about your situation because she told me about her son. Margot's son was a meth addict. Are you comparing me to your friend's son that was a meth addict? That really got me. And that's why, like, for the longest time, I wanted to tell everyone that I had schizophrenia because I couldn't stand this like secret that I had. It bothered me so much. So when I did come out with Schizophrenic.NYC, I wanted to just shout it out in the biggest, boldest way possible. So everyone could just know. And I think it answered a lot of questions for people, honestly. People were like, oh, I see now. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
You know, I love that. And I was doing some reading, and I don't know what year this came out, but someone asked you the question, what's something you wish more people understood about schizophrenia? And you wrote, they don't realize how common it is, how many people with schizophrenia are walking around them. Nobody that I currently work with knows I'm schizophrenic. I don't tell anyone because of the stigma. It's funny, my whole life, people have told me I'm weird. Now, when I tell them I'm schizophrenic, they say, but you're so normal. I love that. I love that because you embrace it now, because it's part of your life. It's not going to go away. And by embracing it, you embrace all of you. And
right. Yeah.
I love that.
It's just like that extra thing, a lot of people have that extra thing, I think there's much worse illnesses. I think, in my opinion,
oh my gosh, there is. But when you have control of it because you have medication. So like, I believe that I've read that it took you a while before you got the right grouping of medications that you.
Yeah.
So like, how can you inspire someone to say, just because this medicine makes you feel bad, go back to your doctor?
Yeah, just keep going back to your doctor. Like I said before, I've thrown so many medications like in the garbage or just dumped them in the toilet. So many, so many. But you just have to like have a good doctor. Make sure you have a good doctor and not just one that's just like sponsored by certain medications and they get money, so they kind of push those on you. I know that happens sometimes. But like you try one, if it works, you're going good, but then maybe you're feeling something else and they want to add one, or maybe you're feeling a different way. And that's what's good about going to a psychiatrist is that they can like read your mood about certain things, and then maybe they can suggest things to you. Like I know I was like struggling for a while and I was just talking to my psychiatrist, and like we weren't even talking about meds, and he goes, you know what? I have a med that you can take that'll really motivate you. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I took it and it changed my entire life. Like I've never felt better. And it was just from him observing my behavior.
See, it's not easy to find a good psychiatrist.
It's not easy. It's not easy, but I am in New York City, which makes it a little bit easier. Yeah, just I'm also have that New York attitude where you think everyone in New York City is better than everybody else. A little bit have that, but he's good. He went to Harvard and Stanford. So for some reason, I consider him a good guy.
Well, he's smart.
I mean, I hope he got good grades.
I think I would probably take someone who graduated at the bottom of their class from there than somebody that from, out in, Oshkosh, Minnesota. And I don't even know if that's a place. If it is, sorry.
I think there is an Oshkosh somewhere in Minnesota.
Oh, no. Is it really?
I think there is. I really think there is.
Well, sorry. But
it's okay. I mean, I'm not from there.
The point is, New York City is known for great doctors, great hospitals. And if you're fortunate enough to live there, you have a much better chance of getting a good doctor and getting
there's more options.
Yeah.
More options. Be like, this person's dumb. Done with that. Let me try somebody else. Okay. There's just options. That's what I would say. Maybe not the better doctors, but there's definitely better options to find. If you can't find one you mesh with, there's bazillions to find.
Yeah. My mother can't even have a doctor. They keep giving her a nurse, a psychiatric nurse. And I don't understand that. Why can't my mother see a real psychiatric doctor? And her regular doctor is the one prescribing the medications for her. He's just a general practitioner. And I'm in New Jersey.
I know that my great grandmother, the story I know about her is that she gave birth to my grandmother on the kitchen table. And then right after that, she was committed to an institution for the rest of her life. So that was in 1925. So who knows what happened to her? And I was watching that show on Netflix, that Ratchet show. Did you see that?
What is it called?
It's called Ratchet. It's like the prequel to
I
Fruits of the
started to
News.
watch it, but it was just too rough.
Yeah, I watched that and I was like, the whole time I'm thinking about my great grandmother going like, what could they have done to her? What
Yeah.
did they do to her? And I'm like, oh God,
Yeah, and because of situations like that, it is so important of what you are doing and anyone else in advocate for mental health awareness, because we can't ever let that happen again. And it still is happening in places that they don't have good doctors or options, and people are still trying to hide that. And breaking the stigma is just it's going to go on for a long time. Big change doesn't happen overnight.
True.
But you're making a big splash in the world, letting people know. And Steve Lawler, whose podcast I am hosting today, is doing just that. And it's like 10 months, I believe he's been doing this, and it is going so quickly. And I think we are on to something really big, and especially post COVID. I like to say post because I
COVID.
believe it's over. But
A lot of people had some mental health issues in COVID, being trapped inside or being trapped inside with their significant other or just trapped inside with their kids. I've never been so happy not to have kids.
to not have kids. Yeah,
I've,
I'm glad mine are grown, because I couldn't. Oh my gosh, it was hard enough being in the house on summer vacation, even though I loved them like crazy. It was you need routine, you need some change, you need just day after day groundhog with kids is not gonna work. And it's a lot has happened.
yeah, my mom friends have been like, oh my God. I have a friend that switched their kids' school because their kid the other school was having like a actual in school, but the regular school was through Zoom. So they're like, we're sending them to another school. They're not staying home.
Yeah, I mean, you have to do what you have to do. I mean, everyone has their situation that they can handle, and it works for them, but you have to do what works for you. And
Exactly. Whatever gives you good mental health, you gotta take care of yourself. You gotta take care of yourself somehow. And whatever
and
works, do it.
and here's one of the things that you talked about, that you could not sit in a chair for 8 hours a day doing a job. You got fired. Did they know that you had schizophrenia, or not at that
I've been
point?
fired from many, many, many jobs. Only one of them knew that I had schizophrenia. And I remember like being in like HR, and they're just kind of like, you're saying you're not on the phone, but you're talking to somebody. And I just turned to HR and I go, I don't know how to explain this. And HR goes to him, you're going to have to excuse that. And he's like, but I don't understand you saying you're not on the phone, but you're talking. And the HR just goes, you're going to have to excuse that.
Wow.
you know? And then, of course, the nosy girl is like, so how did it get excused? I go, I can't talk about it as an HR issue. No, you can tell me. No, I can't. She's just being nosy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. But in the end of the day, you found something that works for you. And that's
Yes. That's
creating.
working for myself because I can't fire myself.
I like that. And I Steve also, he's a mental health attorney, but he was working for an organization, and he had a lot of anxiety, and he just decided to go off on his own, and he's doing wonderfully. And I think that this is not the only, like, whatever you choose your path, if it's not working, there's alternatives.
Yes.
Not because people aren't going to change for you. And that's and even though we'd like to think that by, going to organizations and sharing our information and hoping that they are sensitive to it. And some will be, but some won't be. So you have to make your path, I suppose, and make it work for you, because you can't always count on someone. Maybe they're going to abide by the rules. Like for your situation, HR said, don't ask her, but it's okay. And that worked for you. But, there's other people with other situations and it might not have worked. And if it doesn't work, you can't force it. And you just need to maybe look for something else that will work for you.
Right.
That's
Especially in New York City, you are so replaceable. Like for every job, there's 5 people that can replace you.
Yeah.
Or more, honestly. you're the most, it's just so replaceable, especially graphic design. It's just like everybody can now just do anything. There's more coding stuff. I did like, continuing education, trying to like learn more coding, have all this, have all this, have all this. But, well, it worked. But also, I do have to say, since I had 15 jobs and I was pretty much fired from almost all of them, I worked in every industry you can possibly imagine in New York City besides finance. So therefore, when I started my own business, I had so much knowledge of everything you can imagine, like to build a business. So it actually really did help knowing like every industry's knowledge.
Well, every experience is a learning experience, whether it's good or whether it's bad. It is an experience, and you could just, add it on to, anything to help you move forward. So that's wonderful. And how the finance though, so you had to learn that on your own?
No, and what's convenient is my father is a CPA.
There you go. You use your resources.
That's handy. That's handy.
Very
handles
handy.
The taxes.
Oh, that's terrific. I love your video blogs.
Do you really?
Oh my gosh, we're just cracking up. And, growing up with a mom with schizophrenia, we had a lot of moments that we didn't know. So when mom talked to herself, we were just like, Mom, stop the conversation. Pay attention to us for a minute. Like, we need to tell you something. Like, my brother is falling out of the hole in the floor of the car. We need to stop. So, I mean, we'll talk about those memories and we'll laugh. And, we just made it through. And I love how you combine the two, because life is not all, tears, and it's not all joy, but when you find those moments to weave them together, it's interesting to watch and hear. And you probably have a huge following just from that. I know I'm going to keep watching. And the memes, I mean, the one that really got me laughing was the nuts on the wrist.
That was so funny.
Can you tell
the band that just says nuts because it's a nut allergy, but it just said nuts.
I mean, these are things that happen, and you gotta laugh at it. You
have to laugh at it. You gotta make fun of it, like hospital socks. You gotta make fun of them. No way, nobody wants to see those hospital socks again.
So when you use these memes in your blogs, do you find them on your own, or do people send things to you?
I find them on my own. Well, the first memes when I did, people told me that my memes actually absolutely sucked, and I was like, where can I find better memes? And they gave me like a Reddit thread post thing to look at, and then I just like copied all the memes so I wouldn't like be able to react to them first, and then I was like, put them up. I was like, what in the world? Okay. I'm going to be editing a new one coming out about more psych ward memes. I filmed it and everything. I have to put it together. It should be coming out next week. I hope you like that one.
I will. I'll be watching.
There's a very interesting hospital sock outfit in that one. Just wait for it. I was almost died. I was like, this is not real. This is not real. Did somebody actually do this? It's hilarious. Just wait. Follow me on YouTube.
I'm going to. And
Schizophrenia in the City or Schizophrenic.NYC. I don't even know how to link to my YouTube. Really, I don't really even know.
Actually, I copied all of your links, and
so then go you good. You're really on point.
Well, you know what?
Look at you doing your research. You're great.
It's easy to find. I mean, the internet is a really great resource.
The internet is a great resource. Whenever I can't figure out how to spell something the right way, I just type it into Google.
Yeah, and it always gives you an answer. Sometimes it's
always
not
gives you an answer.
Right one, but you know what? The wrong one can lead you to the right one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's super fantastic that you've normalized the conversation, and that's really what the goal is. Bringing awareness. Normalizing the conversation, letting people know that this is a part of life. People have illnesses, physical, mental, and they're all okay. And you just need to pay attention and, go with it. And you've done that in a huge way with your pop-up store and your blogs. And I'm really impressed all that you've done. And
Thank you.
You're welcome. And at the end of our show, our podcast, we like to just lighten it all up. Not that it's been heavy anyway, because you're just you got such a great personality. So if you had a superpower, what would it be and why?
If I had a superpower, I don't know, mind control. Because
Mind
then
you,
I could just like, who wouldn't want mind control? Because then you could just get whatever you want at any time, do whatever you want at any time, change, make the world what you want it to be, to
would
just
life
do
still be
what you
challenging?
want to do. You know,
I
that
guess
seems pretty easy.
yeah, it is. I mean, it would certainly help someone who you wouldn't need medicine.
Mind control, or
That's,
you know, reading thoughts or something. That I mean, just being able to control everything would be so sweet. Like, oh,
are you a Taurus?
I am a Taurus.
Seriously?
I am.
I love it.
I really don't know astrology at all, but when people say that, when I tell people that at my birthday, they're like, "Oh, you're a Taurus. That's great." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, good." All I know is that I'm a Taurus and it's a good thing.
You like to control things. My
Okay.
daughter's a Taurus. She's great.
Okay.
Like one of my most favorite people in the world, except for my son. They're both equally my favorite.
Equally.
Well, Michelle, you have been such a pleasure to talk with, and you have so many resources to offer with your website, your schizophrenia in the city. I hope that people will follow you because you keep bringing it up and sharing information. And by watching your videos, it leads to others. And that I found someone else that I think would be great to talk to. And I just, that's the great thing. We just keep connecting. Like you said, even if somebody doesn't purchase something, something happens. There's just something that happens by meeting you. And I'm really glad that I found you again.
I'm so glad that you reached out to me. So nice to see you again.
Yes, it is. So I'm going to share all of your information with our readers. I just want to say thank you. And I know we'll be talking to you again in the future.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.